Hi everyone, I'm Ryan Beale. I'm CEO and co-founder of Sentient Sports, where we're looking to solve some of the biggest challenges in the sports industry with our AI. One of these problems is the growing issue of online abuse that athletes are receiving on social media every day. A prime example of this happened in 2021 when Bukayo Saka missed a penalty for England in the final of the Euros. The racist abuse that followed was horrendous, and unfortunately things haven't got better since, with examples across the UK, the US, and the rest of the world. Fortunately, in the US, we're seeing this around college sports and betting, with some severe mental health issues being cited off the back of that. Recent reports have shown that 362 abusive messages are aimed at Premier League players on average every single day, which is the equivalent to one every 4 minutes. And 68% of athletes have reported being abused at least once across all sports. This constant exposure to negativity impacts their mental health and then in turn their on-field performance. This problem is also getting worse. Advancement in AI is leading to the negative impact of things like troll bots and deepfakes becoming more prevalent. And social media companies have shown that they're not going to take action on this. They're removing moderation, with Meta and X doing that this year. It means that sports needs to take this problem into its own hands to protect their athletes. Our solution for this is Guardian AI. Guardian AI is a multi-agent AI system that works in real time to protect athletes 24/7. It launches countermeasures and provides vital stats to teams to be able to take action. It works by scanning social media platforms like X, TikTok, and Meta to be able to find relevant posts about athletes and key staff at organizations. These are then brought into our classification pipeline, where we're able to use LLMs as well as contextual sports data to be able to distinguish between what's standard criticism and then all the way up to criminal level abuse, where we can then launch countermeasures and provide those vital stats to the team. It also learns over time with user feedback, as well as sort of custom interactions that are given, so every organization has a custom AI working for them. Here we show our platform. It's aimed at users within organizations such as the player care team, PR, comms, and legals. Here's a homepage, so you're able to see key stats and sort of see players who might be at risk. You've got key events that are coming up, as well as our classification pipeline, which shows where the abuse is coming from, how bad it is, what action has been taken, and then if it's been deleted or legal action has been taken beyond that. Next, we have our Match Hub. This shows how the tool would work on a match day when we find abuse is most prevalent. It works in real time across the game, feeding the stats during the 90 minutes or whatever game that is focused on. We're able to see flashpoints in the game which have caused abuse, as well as see how on-field performance is leading to more abuse on the players. We also have our review page here, which shows all of the posts that happen throughout the game that are relevant to the teams involved. Here we can then launch countermeasures. So every severe level post is automatically reported to the social media platform using their own privacy policies and sort of abuse policies to be able to pinpoint exactly why they should be deleted. And then we have options for human-in-the-loop users to take action. So they can spotlight a post, they can send a legal takedown notice via DM, or in the example we're about to show, they can escalate the post, which downloads a forensic data log about the abuser, including network analysis and the probability of conviction, which speeds up that legal process which is needed. It can also be used by teams to help ban fans from stadium, so there's real-world consequences for the abusers. Next, we have our welfare page. Here we can compare the covered players in a league or an organization and see which players are at most risk. We can then dive into detail about each individual player and some of the advanced stats that we have. This includes our welfare risk model, which is an explainable AI model allowing us to dive into detail about what's causing abuse. So it covers things like the general sentiment of the player, the volume of abuse that they're receiving, any spiking activity. So if a young player has made their debut and then gone from 10 posts a week to 100 posts a week, there's risk there. And then any max level abuse, so things like death threats or racism, which obviously impact the players' lives. We also have an alert system set up, so staff at the club can be notified in real time if that does lead to abuse or if they need to jump on the platform and take action. We do this via SMS, WhatsApp, email, etc. And finally on the demo, we have our settings page. So here you're able to change which social sources we use, change the personnel that we're able to focus on within the organization, as well as provide different sort of contextual awareness instructions to the AI, so we can learn sort of more nuanced sports abuse. In particular in the UK, you get a lot of tragedy chanting and sort of abuse based on very specific things to an individual club. So this allows the clubs to be able to go in there and add that information. The Key customers for this tech are across teams and leagues to protect their players, staff, and key executives, agencies to protect their clients, and broadcasters to protect pundits. We're centered around a B2B SaaS model with a pricing structure based on the number of social followings that an organization might have, which acts as a proxy for the incoming sort of traffic that we're monitoring, which is our key driver of the costing. There's also opportunities for sponsorship activations where commercial partners can align with this technology to be able to benefit from the positive PR that can come from it, as well as sort of be seen as powering anti-abuse effectively for a certain league. We've got traction in the UK working with some clubs across football and some rights holders as well, and we've been sort of iterating the product with them across 2024. The product launched next week, and we're looking to find more trial partners for this. So we're talking to a few rugby clubs and cricket clubs, and we'd love to speak to any US teams or colleges who are interested in trialing this technology ahead of our full launch for the 2025-26 season later this year. Looking ahead to that, we look to expand across Asia with cricket, and then in the US in the college space, where we think this technology can also be used for NIL infringements, so we can identify any issues that may be occurring there. Beyond that, we look to scale to protect wider celebrities and wider people of interest, such as politicians, musicians, entertainers, and we plan to do this by working with the agencies. Existing solutions in this space lack the real-time aspect that we have, as well as the richness in sort of data that we can provide. So our USP is really having that athlete-first approach to be able to provide that key stats to the organizations that have a duty of care for them so they can focus on their on-field performance. We have a world-class team in this space. Both myself and our CTO have PhDs in AI, and then we have a few professors, both our executive chairman, who is the CEO of Responsible AI UK, which is one of the leading organizations for the UK government in AI, and then Professor Nick Jennings is Vice Chancellor of Loughborough University, which is the top UK university for sport. On the commercial side, we have Ed Woodward, who is Executive Vice Chairman at Man United for over a decade, and he really has seen this problem firsthand. He's experienced abuse himself, but he's also seen young players come through the system, make their debut at Man United, and then struggle to adapt to the abuse that they received. We also have Roller Goldstaff, who is the current global head of sports at TikTok. So he allows us to keep our finger on the pulse of the social media companies and really have as much impact as possible there as well. We also have an ex-professional rugby player, ex-investment banker, who can help us really sort of with our investment strategy and commercially scale. So this blend of technical and commercial experience puts us in the perfect position to be able to protect athletes worldwide and scale this product. In terms of investment, we've raised just over $800,000 to date. This is from across non-dilutive grants from the UK government and the Royal Academy of Engineering, as well as investment rounds from Azure Sports Investments, who are based in the Middle East, and Force Over Mass Capital, who are a UK-based multi-stage tech fund. We're now looking to speak to more teams and rights holders, especially in the US, who are willing to trial this product free of charge for the next few months. So if anyone's interested, please come and get in touch at our booth afterwards. And any investors who are looking to get involved in this area as we look to scale the technology and sort of protect as many athletes worldwide as possible. Thank you for listening, and happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, thanks so much. Really great. Curious, so I saw you have some tie into TikTok, so that certainly helps. X is a real interesting place, and you've got, the owner of it is as big as troll as they're on there. So, what's the response of some of these platforms as you auto flag? Are they quick to respond, or?
Yeah, I think it's been challenging as we've been going through these case studies. I think you're right, X has become worse at this problem. So ultimately, it's trying to build models now that pinpoint in their policies that almost they can't ignore some of the abuse, especially at the really criminal level, so it can be deleted as quickly as possible. I think working with TikTok directly, we're able to sort of, there's less abuse there anyway, but ultimately have a bit more of an impact there. Meta were doing quite a lot in this space and definitely interacting with the leagues, but that's now sort of being reverted on as well. So we're really trying to build models that can just, give the teams their own tool set to take action if the social media companies won't.
I guess, could you talk a little bit about, are you flagging public messages, but what if the abuse is in like a direct message? Could like an athlete opt into your platform to have those messages scanned as well?
Yeah, so one of the benefits of our system is the fact that it is non-intrusive, so the athletes don't have to give us details to their logins, all of these type of things. It can just be, a club can tell us they want to run with it, and we can set it up within a few hours, and then it's acting on their behalf. Like you say, a lot of the abuse now is coming through DMs where we don't automatically see. So what we plan to do there is set up a system where the athlete can forward that message into a Guardian AI inbox that will then put that message within our classification pipeline, work out what can be done, and ultimately have the same countermeasures. Things like the forensic data logs, if it's a death threat, can then be used in the same way.
Can you talk a bit about the impact that the teams or the managers are seeing once they are on this platform? And it sounds like, as we just said, it's tough to get Meta and X to maybe take immediate action. So what are the clubs doing if they feel like they're the only, entity that's empowered to try to do something here?
Yeah, definitely change it depending on who the user is. We've worked with a few clubs who have seen that abuse is coming from different regions than they realise. There's one in particular in the Championship, a relatively small club in the football system in the UK, who were seeing a lot of abuse coming from Indonesia based on their ownership group, and they weren't really aware of that because all of the posts are in Indonesian. Their small team weren't actually able to go through that. And then you can start to break down the different dialects across a region like that and see where the abuse is actually coming from. So that richness of information and richness of data, I think, has other downstream analytics that they can do in the future. And then ultimately that welfare side allows them to then take in real world intervention. So player care staff can put their arm around a player, sort of refer them to a psychologist if need be. Then on the league side, you've got a very strong sort of, case study aspect where they like to take these type of things to court and prove that there are real world consequences of a death threat aimed at a Premier League player, for example. And there's been good cases going through the Singaporean courts where people have been given suspended sentences and fines based on the abuse that Premier League players have received. So ultimately being able to expedite this process and give them a tool to say, instead of one person spending 2 weeks researching the individual and sort of going through that, within 30 seconds they have the same information. The AI is doing the research for them, and they can take that straight to law enforcement and then take action.
Have you had any or tried to talk to players' unions as potential advocates for the leagues to adopt, or teams to adopt this solution on behalf of the players, and maybe the unions would potentially even pay for it themselves? Just curious.
Yeah, it's definitely something we've looked at. Where we're focused on the UK market at the moment, there's not as much of a thing in football as it is in the US sports. Obviously, there are football unions, but it's definitely a way we see as accessing the US market and speaking to the player union as a way to either lobby for the tool to be used by the clubs or for effectively being paid for by themselves. Okay. Is there any other questions? Or, oh, good. Perfect.